Hello, everyone. My name is Faz from Nintendo Players UK, and I'm here. I've now returned to the Kanto region as I am now here with the legendary at this point, Veronica Taylor. And if you don't know who she is, she voices Ash. She's basically the voice of our childhood. Let's be honest, she is. So, hi, Veronica. How are you today?
Hi, thank you. I'm fine. Thanks for that lovely introduction. Yeah, thank you. I'm happy to be here.
Thank you very much. How is everything going? That's probably the first thing I need to ask because obviously California.
Yeah, things are fine where I am. Actually, we're just affected by smoke and ash in the air, but it's pretty traumatic for everyone.
Well, I'm glad you are safe,
Yeah, thank you.
and I hope everyone who is in California, I hope you are all okay too. But I thought I'd at least get that out of the way
Yeah,
now
thank
because I
you.
know you are California based.
That's right. And I think it's, for all of us, it's figuring out how best to help those in need, whether you see something that's so in your face like this, where people's homes are gone, or you've got flooding, or you have homeless people who need help. I mean, it's just, I think we all need to be aware of how we can help those in our community. And it strikes in all different ways. And unfortunately, it doesn't take a holiday. So this is just a giant reminder of that. And I guess we could say it just starts with a tiny kindness, holding the door open for someone. And so here we are with our little moment of kindness where we have some time to chat and get to know each other. So
thank you so much for taking the time up to talk to me and of course the UK fans here.
yeah, I'm thrilled.
So let's get the more obvious questions out of the way. So what got you started into voice acting?
Um, Gosh, the long answer is that I started acting when I was 5, and I did all the plays that I possibly could. I did little gosh, I used to do little interviews of myself in my room, like things like that. So I've always
Sounds
been
like exactly what I'm doing right now.
That's right. And me too, actually, here in my little closet. But then I went to college and grad school for acting. I toured the United States with a bunch of different shows and acting companies. And I moved to New York, and I guess I got a recommendation from an acting coach to do an anime audition. And I booked that, and they said, "Oh, can you audition for this?" And I booked that, and then, it just kind of came around. I was working on Slayers, which is a
Mm.
I don't know, fun anime, one of my favorites actually. And I had the opportunity to audition for Pokemon, which, was just another project, it seemed.
Mm.
And so then, my career kind of kept going from there. A lot of it is basically networking.
Ah, so you said it. You had been put into the audition for Pokemon. Did you go for Ash first, or was it just a?
No,
Was it Ash's mom? Was it what
no,
was
we
the voice you
all
went with?
we all got to audition for whatever characters they knew about at the time. Gosh, it was 20 years ago, and so I remember watching the little clip of the show because they wanted the voices to match what the original Japanese actors and actresses did. But I probably auditioned for everything, which at the time was probably Ash, Misty, Brock, maybe Team Rocket. Only the basics I remember.
Oh, okay. So you watched the original Japanese dub,
We saw
and
it.
obviously for us at
Yeah, we
the
saw a
sorry, go on.
tiny clip of it, like a minute maybe, that was in a loop, so you could kind of grasp what the voice sounded like, and then you had to base your audition off of that. We didn't see a whole episode.
Oh, okay. So before we get into Ash,
Hmm.
you said you had tried for Misty, and I'm guessing you did for Brock as well, and Jesse. Probably more Misty and Jesse. But when you heard Jesse and Misty now compared to the one you did for the audition, is it completely different? Was it similar takes? What was your thoughts
I
on that?
have no idea how similar or different it was. I then and now audition for so many different things, and basically, you just kind of pop in, do your audition the best that you can, and then you leave it behind. I was doing a play at the same time that these auditions were, so I was traveling back to rehearsal, and it's all a fog because it didn't really matter what I didn't get. It just matters what you do get.
Mm.
So I have no idea what. And also, this isn't an audition that we prepared. We just went in, listened, and auditioned and left. So I
Mm.
have no idea at all what that possibly could have sounded like.
Okay, so now we gotta get into the questions about Ash.
Okay.
So let's start at the beginning. Ash's voice.
Uh-huh.
How did you? I know you've probably answered this question a bajillion times, but at the same time, we the UK fans, you don't get to see these interviews all that often. So, how did you sort of tackle Ash's voice? Was this sort of something that was generic to you, or was this something that was, there was a particular twang that you went for?
Well, originally I was trying to match what was already there. So, and then once I got the role, then I kind of had ideas that I could connect onto. My brother was 10 at the time, and I had recorded his voice. I was a fan of Speed Racer and
Mm.
Spritle. I liked his voice, and also Rudolph from those stop action Christmas specials. She thinks I'm cute. He's all kind of up in here. And the Ash, I think, was kind of, Mom, come on, around. It's probably a little more stuffy. A lot of boy voices done by girls, or a lot of kids' voices, were very kind of stuffy at the time. And I think Ash's voice is a little, it changed or was allowed to change within the first season. Um, so I can't even go back to that because I don't listen to it enough. But he eventually settled kind of into here, so he could have some lows and highs and all about there. Um, and I think more than kind of what his voice should sound like, I focused more on who he was as a person, who his character was, and so and that's what I thought about the whole 8 years that I worked on the show, is being true to the moment. Because even though you're doing animation, you still have to play the scenes and the emotion and, I don't know, bring those moments to life, I guess. So it's more about who he is than what he sounds like, if that makes sense.
Makes total sense. To be fair, you can't see my face right now, but my face is beaming because you just did the voice, and I'm like, oh my god, this is all back again.
Oh,
Sorry.
hey, Faz. Awesome.
You're doing it again. Jesus, I'm just not gonna. I'm just gonna go cry in a corner because I'm so happy.
Well, there is
Great.
something wonderful about, um, you know, our voices in general, what we recognize as a baby and what we grow up with, and, the shows that we watch, the people in our lives. In that sense, I think our voices are so powerful. And the fact that we can relate to different people or sounds, or in this case, Ash is a character who has, gosh, he's a person, even for me, has so much joy and compassion and that grit, I guess you could say, of going after his goals and still trying to help those around him. There's something like a pure love in that for me when I get to talk like him. And it's interesting that a voice can have such a reaction. I am quite honored to be part of that, but also I don't take that responsibility lightly, I'll tell you that. It is pretty cool.
Uh, at this point, so you said this was because it was 1998. You started voicing as Ash, if I've got the
That's right.
date correctly.
That's right.
So that's about a year or two after Pokemon Blue and Pokemon Red came out. Were you aware of the games at the time?
No, not at all. In fact,
Oh,
the
okay.
only thing I'd ever heard of about Pokemon after we auditioned for it, um, and maybe even after we started working on it, I can't quite remember, was that the show had caused seizures in some children. Um, and
Ah,
yet
the
I
Paragon
still
episode.
worked on it. I'm not sure what that says about me, but that's the only thing I ever knew about Pokemon at all.
Um, it Now, obviously, Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu and Pokemon Let's Go Eevee came out, but when I did some slight research, Pokemon Yellow was kind of taking some stuff that was from the anime. Did you ever know about this game when that came out? So this is now after Pokemon Yellow and Pokemon Blue and Pokemon Red. Pokemon Yellow had come out because it's meant to take cues from the games. From the anime.
Right.
Did you were you a part of that in any way in terms of its promotion, if that makes any sense?
We weren't part of any promotion at all.
Okay. No, that's
They really wanted to, I would say 4Kids really kind of kept us out of, they certainly kept me away from doing interviews, and they really kept us out of anything, actually. And plus in 98, 2000, nobody really used computers that much. I certainly had a cell phone, but it was for emergency use only. You know, so
Yeah.
it's not like we were all digitally connected like we are now. So no, I didn't do any of that kind of stuff. I heard of
just
the games,
realized-
I will tell you
sorry, go
that.
on.
I certainly heard of them. I knew that they existed.
Now that I've forgotten this, it's about 20 years
Yeah.
since I didn't realize it was the 20th anniversary until now. So it's actually the 20th anniversary of the anime as well.
Yep, that's right
Wow.
here in America, at least, and probably the UK, because um, it aired actually right now, Thanksgiving. Well, let's see, Thanksgiving of 1999 was the first movie, I think, and we started September of '98 on air. So you might have gotten it the same time that we did in the U.S.
Oh, wow.
But yeah, because I remember the opening weekend for the movie, it was gigantic box office. And when you consider that 20 years ago, most of those tickets were child prices. And so there were a couple adults bringing a mob of children with them, and they still had a massive box office over the Thanksgiving, which is now in America, weekend. And it was just one of the biggest children's films, I guess, ever. And when you compare it now, I can't even fathom it. It was just really big.
Okay, I didn't. Oh, wow.
Yeah,
I've
this is
forgotten.
good that I'm-
I was 8 at the time. Okay, I was 8. I was legitimately 8, or I think 7 at the time.
Right.
I was. So this is like this. Effectively, this is my age. I was one of those children going to the cinema and asking my dad, "Hey, can we go to the cinema, please? I want to go watch some Pokemon."
Right. And I was just saying, recently I saw the first movie. They had it in some theaters here in the U.S., and my daughter and I went. My daughter, who was born at the end of the first season, so she's kind of been a Pokemon child her whole life too. And when I first went to see the movie, you would go in, and like when you went to see it, and it looked like the whole theater was empty, but it was because everyone was too small for their heads to be seen over the seats. And then I recently went, and the seats were all full because those children were now adults and saying the lines to the movie and singing along with the music. And it was just an incredible experience. It was then, and it is now.
Okay, so so this kind of puts us neatly into the movie itself.
Yeah.
So it was the first time you were working as Ash. You're now officially the voice of Ash, and the movie has first come up. And how much did you know about the movie before going in? And how much did you? So what was your experience like? I do apologize. I'm trying to word this question correctly. So when you went to the movie for the first time, was that the first time you actually got to see the audience with it, like when it first got premiered?
Yeah, and the first time I saw the whole movie. So when you're dubbing something, you only do your lines. So with the series or with any of the movies, I just saw the parts that I was in, and I only saw my lines. So of course, when I had more characters to play, then I saw more of the show or the movie. But when I went to the theater, it's the first time I saw it as a whole piece. And then the same thing when we worked on the movie, as you were asking. We didn't know anything about the what it was about or what was going to happen. We just went in and worked. So it's really you're really playing the moments because that's all you know about. You don't know where it's going to go or what's going to happen in the end, or they don't give you, or at least they didn't, any idea of what was to come.
At these premieres or even at any event, did you ever meet the voice actors for Misty and Brock, who at the time I think it was Rachel Hillis and Eric Stewart? And did you ever meet Pikachu?
No.
Because her voice didn't change
Right.
throughout the entire time. So
Yeah, so I've not met any of the Japanese actors or actresses ever, unfortunately. That's one of my goals. Rachel Lillis, Eric Stewart, everybody else, we would see each other at the studio, kind of, like I would finish my session and someone else would be coming in to record right after. So we all knew each other from working on other projects. So it certainly isn't being at an event is not the first time I had met everyone, but we never got to work in the booth at the same time.
So have you ever sort of been at an event together, if that makes any sense, as opposed to the booth, like at let's say a convention? Because Pokemon has been so big, at least especially around 1998 to 2006. That was probably it was just a phenomenon from there to there.
Right.
And then and it, to be fair, it just didn't stop.
Right.
But at that point, it was in the mainstream, and it was just kind of part of the furniture at that point.
That's right.
So you've never, have you met them in person in terms of outside of the booth, as in at events?
We're all friends and all of that. So we've definitely gone to events together. We all lived in New York, so we would see each other there. There were some New York conventions we would all go to. This year, so far, meaning 2019, there's 2 events where Rachel, Eric, Tara Sands, and I are all going to be. And all of that is just dependent upon who invites us to things. So we just haven't been invited to the same conventions before now. Eric and I have gone to a couple together. But no, we've been friends for a really long time.
Have you ever played Pokemon Go together? I feel like that would be something I think everyone would want to see.
That's hilarious. I never thought about that. I have Pokemon Go on my phone, of course, who doesn't? And I do play. I'm really bad. I don't see them often enough to think to get together to play that. I suppose we should put that on our to-do list. So
I could just imagine it for a second.
Yeah.
Like it would be like an entire redub. It's like a redubbing of one of the episodes.
Yeah.
You're just walking down the road and be like, there's a
I caught a
Krabby."
Pikachu. Hey, come on, Brock. Misty, it's mine.
Yeah, like stuff like that. I suppose we could do that, and yet we would only be the ones enjoying it. Probably no one else.
It's like, you sound strangely like that one person
I
that I remember as a kid. That's so weird.
Then other people would be like, oh, be quiet, I'm trying to play Pokemon Go.
Oh my god. That image is too funny to me now.
Yeah, that is good. We have a show in January, so maybe we'll do that then. I'll write that down in my calendar.
Oh, okay. So the next one would be the next question I need to ask at that point. So you've interacted with fans since 1998, effectively. In that time, what's been your favorite interaction during that period of things? Because obviously things have changed since then. But was there any moment while you were during that time where you thought, yeah, this is much bigger than I thought it'd be, aside from the movie?
Well, when I was on the bus, like taking my daughter to school, the regular city bus, and I don't know, maybe that was, it was so early on, seeing kids playing with the Pokemon cards, and there was a little store down the street from where we recorded that had tiny Pokemon figures. And actually, I bought a bunch of Pokemon rings, weird stuff that I was like, you may want to get more of this because this show seems to be big. I think then when I realized how much it was kind of catching on, seeing an article in the New York Times about it, My life didn't change at all working on the show, but the big thing was that people, as an actor, people always say, "Oh, what are you working on?" And when you can say, "Oh, I'm doing this cartoon, it's called Pokemon," and people go, "Oh, I've heard of that," then they make you feel like you're a legitimate actor. But for most of the time, you can say anything, and they're like, "Oh, okay. Have you ever thought about, doing TV? Have you ever thought about?" People always say things like that, and as if what you're doing isn't really legitimate. So it was amazing to be working on something that people had actually heard of. But I think seeing people or kids playing the games and everything was, then I realized maybe it would have some longevity.
Well, it's still going,
Yeah,
so
that's true.
you're right about that one.
But because, the thing is, I would just go to work, go in the booth, record, go home, and it's not like anything at the studio really changed or that our lives were affected by the popularity of the show, except that we would get another year. And then at the end of that season, we'd find out there was another season. So that was the greatest thing of all, actually. But it's not like there were mobs of people or I got recognized or the work changed or, it's not like any of that kind of stuff happened. But just seeing it all around was pretty cool.
So now, now you're at this point from the picture's perspective. Pokemon's big now. And did you ever deal with the creators of Pokemon at the time, Satoshi Tajiri or Ken Sugimori, or did you ever deal with Nintendo at any point in your tenure?
No, I think some people from Nintendo came when we were working on some of the video games, but we basically just had like a little introduction and then go in the booth, record, and leave. So it's not like we got to work with anyone or kind of create any lasting relationship. All of that stuff, quite honestly, was quite controlled. So I wish that I had actually been able to deal with them or chat more about what we were doing or any of that, but that just wasn't part of it.
No, that's completely fine. 'Cause I know this day and age things have changed a little bit more where there are, in some cases, for certain franchises, there are official voices, and in other cases, it changes all the time. So it's interesting to hear that that isn't that you had a very limited time dealing with Nintendo.
Yeah.
What was in the limited time? Which games were it on for specifically? Was it stuff like Pokemon Snap, or was it for?
Maybe. Yeah, we worked on a lot of things. I guess part of it, which is it's hard to explain to people who love anything, who love the games that they love to play or, all of that. As an actor, I went in and worked and then I went to another job and I went to another job and then I picked my daughter up and I went home. And so my life was just I would say a cacophony because I was making so much noise, but basically it's just a bunch of different jobs piled together. So the fact that I worked on Pokemon Puzzle League or Pokemon Snap or just another something, I don't really know what the games were. And it's not like we ever got a copy of them. So that, certainly there's things that I have that I remember specifically I worked on it because I have a copy of it, and so it's not that I don't care. It's just that there's so much going on that I couldn't, I didn't need to keep track of it. So I don't mean to disappoint anyone to say I don't know if I worked on these certain games, but I just don't.
It's completely fine.
Yeah, it's just because it's such a glomp together, if that's even a word. But it was just a time of working on a bunch of things, and even when we worked on those games, then I would go and work on another cartoon. And then sometimes I could go into where 4Kids was and work on 4 different shows that day. So I don't always remember the exact character or anything but if I heard it, I would remember it. You know what I mean? That kind of thing I attach myself to. But the specific names and everything, I don't know. Unless I wrote it down then, which I didn't, I don't think. I have to go back through my diaries. But anyway, so that's why I just don't know. But anything that was Pokemon between 1998 and 2006, whenever, if Ash's voice was on it, it would have been my voice. And there were things where they were allowed to take stuff from the shows and use it on something else. So some of those things I might be in, but I didn't actually go in to work on it because they were just allowed to take whatever they wanted from what we did. So that's another reason why there's some things that I am a part of that I didn't know I was a part of.
You mentioned that you had a lot of, I say a lot of, but you had some stuff that were Pokemon related merch type stuff, I'm assuming.
That I bought?
Yes.
Yeah. Some
Okay.
things.
What is...
Yeah.
Go on.
Not a lot,
Go on, you go
because I've
first.
always lived in a very tiny apartment. So I have like my little Pokemon rings, and people have given me some Pokemon related things, like Pikachu slippers. Those aren't too big, which are really my daughter's now. But yeah, I didn't buy a lot of things for sure.
Okay. What's your favorite Pokemon related, I guess, merch, whether you have been given it or you bought it yourself? What do you hold sentimentally for that, if I may ask? Is there anything you hold sentimentally that you have?
I keep every picture that people have drawn for me. There's some incredible artwork that I've been given that people draw, or they draw while they're waiting in line to come say hi, or really beautiful paintings and sketches, and I keep all of those. That I'm amazed at the creativity that has sprouted from Pokemon, from Satoshi Tajiri's brain. This whole him, if you imagine him sitting in his room and sketching out his characters and creating this universe, and then look what's happened, and that other people have written stories and created characters and all of that just from the joy of watching the show or playing the games. So I definitely keep that stuff more than anything else.
Was there any... Oh, I forgot. I was going to say, what's your favorite moment? But that's kind of one of the fan questions. So while I try to properly word this question, I want to go straight into the fan questions now. So I hope you don't mind that.
No, I don't.
With that being said, Jack Gone asks, how long does it take to record your voice or audio for an episode?
Sure. Because since we're talking about anime and Pokemon specifically, it all depends on how many lines the character has. I think we would figure about 30 lines an hour, and that all depends on so many factors. If you're fitting the lip flap, if the line is working for the lip flap. We've had great writers when I was working on the show who, meticulously, as they are taking the translation and they're adapting it, they're watching the flap and working it out, so that most of the time when we got the script, it had been approved through all the different channels it had to go through because it was on broadcast TV. And so, for the most part, if you had the intention right, you could get the line recorded in 1 to 5 takes, let's say. So if you're thinking about 30 lines an hour, Ash, an episode could be anywhere from 2 to 4 hours, maybe. In the beginning, more because there were fewer characters. Later, when I was playing May as well, Ash maybe could be done easily in an hour or 2 because there were so many other people in the show.
I forgot about that. I forgot that was one of the questions I'd forgotten to ask about.
Oh.
What was it like voicing Ash and effectively May at the same time?
Yeah, it was awesome because often I wouldn't hear any other voices before I recorded. So if I do all of Ash's lines and then I would get to do May's lines, I would have a scene partner then. So I could hear myself as Ash and play off of that. And then, when Ash's mom was in, then I could work on that. And, and then all of us played other characters throughout. So that was it's super fun. It's not like when you do something prelay, when you're recording first, you're imagining all of that, and because there's no picture to look at, so and sometimes you have other people in the booth for that. For anime, when you're dubbing, it's just you. So you're imagining things in a different way, I guess.
Now, I could probably ask like 10 more questions just based on that particular thing alone. Otherwise, we'll be here forever, so we might need to do a part 2 at some
I've got
point,
tons
maybe.
of time, so.
I know, but then we'll actually have a 2-hour session, and that
Yeah,
would
that's
be
right.
probably more than a VO
Well,
session.
that's because nobody would be able to listen for that long. They'd just go, please stop talking.
No, we're going to keep going. I'm joking. All right, I'll continue with the fan questions.
Okay.
Okay. Alexander Leonard Keach, sorry, sorry if I said that name wrong, has asked, did you have more fun voicing Ash in Pokemon or April O'Neil in TMNT?
Well, both equally, I have to say, but for different reasons. With April, we all were in the booth together. We got to rehearse the show, and then we all recorded. And I don't know, Sue Blue directed that, and she's really amazing. So we got to play around a bit more and create the scene in a different way. Ash, even though I was by myself, his energy and positivity made playing that role an incredible experience. April didn't get to do as much. She was more cerebral, I guess, than action-oriented, and Ash gets to go through so much. He's happy, or he's mad, and he's fighting, and there's just so much to play there. The range is great.
Okay. It just reminds me of the Butterfree episode now.
Oh.
What did you think of that episode when you were recording that? Now that I think about it.
Yeah, it's so incredibly sad. I mean, what I always say is that what's amazing about Pokemon is that we're in this world that is not real and yet is so real, and that you have these moments of extraordinary emotion that we all can relate to and need to relate to, because we need to know how to let go. And we can, and gosh, as an audience, I think we can relate to Butterfree, and we can relate to Ash in that. And so I think we learn how to be more human from watching this animation,
Cool. All right. Sorry about that.
Yep.
Everyone in the audience, we had to restart the recording a bit. So yeah, the next question I have to ask is, it kind of neatly puts me back into it. Rachel Dines, I hope I pronounced it correctly, asks, which episode do you remember having the most fun voicing and recording, and why?
I would say all of them. I don't know if that's a answer that you'll accept.
That's
but,
not an answer. We all want we want a definitive one experience.
Well, definitely the first episode is the one I remember the most, because we had to go back and fix so many things on that. I love Ash being so excited and then waking up late, which I know we've all done. I love that he goes out in his pajamas, which we all always want to do. But the thing that was so great about that episode is that none of us knew what this world was that we were about to get involved in. And so it really lays the foundation for what's ahead. And that's why it's my favorite one. I don't know, it's just full of so many possibilities. So yeah, I guess the first one then.
Is it bad for me to ask outside of the first one? Because
they all are a blob after that, quite honestly. So
okay.
Unless I've watched them over and over, like there's one, the Butterfree one, there's one where Ash is in the cave with Snowrunt, and they're freezing cold and they're all gathering around. Like that kind of, I love that emotion. I don't remember things in the glob that is Pokemon in my brain, specific things like this gym battle or this whatever. I remember him peeking in the window when Brock is in with all of his siblings. That is so, I don't know why, but that really stuck with me. There's moments that I remember as if they were real, kind of. but I don't remember full episodes because, again, I only saw my lines, so everything is fractured.
Would it be better for me to ask it that way instead? What's your favorite moment?
Well, those, I guess.
You've mentioned. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt there. I was gonna say that you mentioned the moments that you mentioned so far, like very family and very somber-esque moments, and like I'm guessing that's more to do with the fact that you have a family and kind of relates to that, I guess.
Maybe I'm an actor. I love to get into the meat of things, like there's nothing better than being able to put yourself in someone else's shoes and figure out what makes them work. Whether those shoes be sneakers or, I don't know, what did April wear? Combat boots or I don't know. But the thing is that to play the moments that make a difference, that's what acting is all about. Even I trained in stage combat, so the fight scenes I liked because I got to use some of my skills, even though I wasn't wielding a big stick or a sword or something. But I have an understanding of where the energy comes from for those scenes. I like to act. And so the emotion is a better choice than just laughter, I guess. So I guess that's why those moments stick with me more, because you need to commit to it in a different way. You need to jump outside of yourself.
Okay. No, that's actually more interesting than I thought. I say.
Also, I have a family, so that makes a difference too. It's not that I don't care about them.
No, it's not that. It's like, oh wait, no, that was way different than that went a different direction than I was expecting. That's all it was.
Yeah, because the thing is, when you are a voice actor, you are taking everything that you've ever learned about how to create a scene, how to go for your objective, all of your character study, and all of the work that you do on stage, which you are able to use your full body and your whole face to react. You have to just whittle that down into just voice. So you could have an eyebrow raise on stage, whereas you need to find a sound for that in animation. And so it's like very intense acting, and it's quite fulfilling when you get to play some great stuff. And so that's where the yearning and the reaching out and the joy of winning and the sadness of letting something go, all of that is, the range of human emotion. That's what an actor wants to play. So that's why those scenes mean so much to me.
Millie I'm going to pronounce this name wrong. Millie Wakoma asks, what's your favorite Pokemon? Now, I know it's already out there.
Pikachu!
So, yeah.
Right.
That was too easy.
Well, it's not really easy when you see, and Ikue Otane, who plays Pikachu in all languages, she's so amazing. And the fact that she can bring so much emotion to one word, and that you could watch an entire episode just watching and listening to Pikachu, and you would be fulfilled from that. She's amazing. So what she does and the relationship that Pikachu and Ash have, that's why Pikachu is my favorite. We all relate to that kind of sibling or parent-child relationship. Many of us have pets. You can relate to how you have to work together constantly to forge how you're going to go forward. And as we all know, relationships are not simple. They require work and they require compromise, and that is embodied in the relationship that Ash and Pikachu have. So Pikachu is my favorite because they work it out every day. So, and also it's yellow and cute and but
Of course.
but that's why I think without that relationship you wouldn't have a show.
That's true. That's true. So I'm guessing that if I asked you if you were gonna get, this is a what if you had a choice between Pokemon Let's Go Eevee and Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu, I'm guessing you'd pick
Pikachu.
Okay.
What I do like is how Eevee has that unlimited potential in the evolutions. And I think that Eevee is really one of the most popular other Pokemon, especially right now. And that unlimited potential is what we all have as human beings. And it, in a Pokemon form, taps into that. And so everyone can like so many different EVs. They can like, and I won't go into all the names, but you know what I mean. And that you can identify with that and you can change and you can still appreciate everyone else's choice because they're all from the same Eevee,
Yeah.
And so I do think it's fantastic that is the other game that they chose Eevee for that, the Let's Go.
But you didn't answer the question.
Pikachu.
Did you?
Pikachu.
Oh.
I'd take Pikachu. How could I not? How could I not?
I had to be sure. I
Yeah.
had to be sure. You. Do you have a favorite evolution?
No, I'm sticking with Eevee because I like the base, just the very basic one. And then that it can spring into whatever after that. Everyone has their own choice, but I'm sticking with the very basic.
Okay, just to put this out there because I asked the question, therefore I must
Answer.
Answer. Yeah.
Yes.
Mine is Flareon because Flareon is underrated, and
Oh.
y'all who don't like Flareon need to go check yourself. I'm just saying.
All right. I think that advice has been heeded. Okay.
No, you can all have your favorites. Let me know in the comments. What's your favorite evolution?
Yeah, that's a good question.
And what's your favorite moment of Ash? Before I forget. All right. So next question. I'm sorry. We're not even we're about halfway.
All right,
through
I'll
the
answer.
fan
I'll answer much
questions.
more quickly now. We'll lightning round it.
Yeah. Okay. Peter Alexander Gurgiowski asks, did you ever order fast food in Ash's voice? In other words, did you ever pull any pranks with Ash's voice in particular? 'Cause the
No, I
temptation is too real.
haven't. Because mostly I pick up my food, and I can't go in and say, I'm here to pick up the pizza.
So otherwise,
You really-
I use weird accents, but I never use like cartoon voices.
You never, ever, ever.
No, but I do answer the phone sometimes in a childish voice if I know it's someone calling for something.
Telemarketer.
Yes, telemarketer.
Or an American equivalent, because we here in the UK, we have just prank calls.
Oh yeah, no, I haven't used Ash's voice for anything bad
Okay.
or pranky.
Or so
pranky.
she claims.
Yes, or so I claim. Yet.
Yet. We'll see. Let's see if we can try and get that to happen.
Yeah.
I'm joking. That's not a challenge. Please don't do that. Becky Frost asks, if Pokemon didn't exist, I know, the horror. I'm literally reading it as she's written it, okay?
Okay.
If Pokemon didn't exist, I know, the horror. What lead voice acting would you want to be famous for? Or I think what she's trying to ask is, which role would you be most proud of outside of Ash?
Gosh, I've worked on many, many things that no one has ever heard of. It's lucky for me that I worked on anything that people watched. So, certainly, I'm really proud to have been part of the Ninja Turtles legacy. I work on a lot of kids programs that I really enjoy. I think kids' education, I think kids learning to read, it's incredibly important. And for me to play a small part in that brings me great joy. A lot of stuff I work on is for kids' literacy, actually. I even have recorded the dictionary for Scholastic, so that helps kids who can't pronounce certain words. You push on it, and then I say the word. So a lot of what I work on is unglamorous and important.
As is the best work, to be fair. The best work is usually the most important work.
Right.
So this is the last fan question, and it's not related to Pokemon, strangely
okay.
enough. It's by Nicholas Pete, and he asks, what's your favorite dinosaur? And this is alluding to Dinosaur King, I believe it is.
Yeah.
Because you worked on that.
I worked on that, and I've done a ton of stuff about dinosaurs, even like Magic School Bus things with dinosaurs. I'm fascinated by fossils, and I'm constantly reading about everything that they're discovering, and there's so much happening right now in the world. So I think the Tyrannosaurus Rex might be my favorite, only because I have a couple of those little plastic ones around my house. I love the pterodactyl, and I think it's constantly being renamed, but I'll call it that. The idea of this giant bird flying around, it must have been terrifying and just so incredible to see.
It reminds me of that one episode in Pokemon.
Everything can relate back to Pokemon at some point, right?
There's literally a Pokemon
genius.
called Aerodactyl.
That's
so-
right. That's right. I know,
Charizard,
which looks a
Aerodactyl.
lot like a pterodactyl. How weird. Wait a minute. No.
Nani? No.
Yeah, there's a lot taken from real life in that.
Mhm.
Yeah. Anyway, yeah, all these like Pokemon bits flood into my head when you start talking about that. I guess we're all in the same world that way. This reminds me of that time on Pokemon where ...
Maybe I should do the next Q&A like that. It's like, okay, we're gonna talk about this specific time.
Yeah. It
right.
might all come back to me. Maybe I should watch a few seasons before our next chat.
Mm. I mean, they did air it on Twitch Presents a while back, and they went through the entirety up until the most current one
Did
to
they?
celebrate. They did.
Wow.
They went through the entire thing, and they went at it slow, like as in they went weekly
That's amazing.
by these episodes. So
See,
yeah.
now we need to do that, but we can get actors together and we can live comment on it.
Oh, that would be cool. Maybe we could do that as like a Nintendo Players.
Absolutely.
Let's watch.
We could have our little shadows as we comment, So I know that's been
That
done
would be
before, but definitely. It would be really great, actually. We could comment as, well, I don't think we really, Ash never ages, so it couldn't be like Ash 20 years later talking about, oh, I remember when I was 10. Oh, I remember that. Like, you probably couldn't do that.
You probably could just not do it as an old voice. Like, oh, I remember that time. It was
Yeah,
just
because
like
he
last
hasn't
week.
changed at all. He hasn't
Yeah,
changed at all.
because the ages and the timelines have changed quite a bit.
Yeah.
So it's apparently not a lot of time has passed between Kanto and now. So it's weird now. But in either case, thank you very much for joining me.
Is that
today.
it? Oh,
There's
this has
one
been
more question.
All right, go ahead.
There is one more question I always ask.
Okay.
But if you really want another question.
Absolutely. I so enjoy my time speaking with you, whether in person or over our handy-dandy Skype here, as we're so far away. Anyway.
I was going to ask, so since you've inspired almost 20 years worth of fans, effectively, and Pokemon's still going strong, obviously there's going to be people who will ask, how do I become a voice actor? So the question for you is, as a voice actress who has had such a big name tied to them for so long, and still are, to a lot of people, they still think you are the only Ash that is out there. What is the most important thing for them to know if they ever wanted to get into a position like yours?
Like into a closet like this, talking on a mic. No, just kidding. Just step into the closet. For me, personally, I think your acting training is the most important thing. I do not think anyone should set out to be a voice actor. You should set out to be an actor. There are. It's hard for me to say it without sounding depressing, but there's much more time that you will spend not working than you will spend working. And so my career is a hodgepodge of, before my daughter was born, I did a lot of theater and some TV, and I toured and all of that. And then once she was born, I wasn't able to spend the time going to rehearsals, and luckily my career turned towards voice-related work. But voice-related work means working on cartoons, commercials. I work on English as a second language. I work on audiobooks. I work on other language programs that teach English-speaking people other languages. I work on voice recognition systems. I work on educational apps. All of these things, that's what comprise my career. So Pokemon, but if I hadn't done all these other things, I would be living out on the street. So instead, I'm in my tiny apartment telling you, get the most training you can in anything you want to do, because, like Ash says, you want to be the very best, and you have to learn your craft, and then get a demo together so that you can send it out, and then network with people so you meet like-minded creatives who can help you get work. But ultimately, you want to learn your craft, whether you're a musician or an artist or an actor or a dancer, anything. A scientist, you don't go in to do brain surgery if you just pick up a scalpel. You still have to learn. And for me, that path was through getting a liberal arts education at college, and then I went to graduate school, so I have a BA and an MFA in acting, and that's definitely helped me. That's my long answer for you.
Nothing wrong with that. It's important.
There's no easy road to anything, and you have to have your bag packed for when that door opens, and it's just luck that gets a door to open. But hopefully, through your training, you can be in the right place at the right time for when the door does open.
Thank you so much for
You're
the wonderful advice.
You're welcome. This has been so nice. Thank you. And I guess,
Yeah, I've had a really great time talking to you too. Unless, I guess, I didn't get to talk enough, but
Ash, come on, let's go.
Mom!
That was just for you, Faz.
Aww. Thank you. So where can people find you if they want to keep up with you?
Yeah, I'm on Twitter and Instagram. I'm the Veronica T. Facebook, I'm the Veronica Taylor. My website's under construction. It'll be done at some point. That's veronicataylor.net. But then I post all of the stuff about what I'm doing for audiobooks and for cartoons and all of that on Twitter, especially because then I can pass on what other people do. Twitter, I think, is great because someone can send me a drawing and I can pass it on to others. I feel like with Facebook and Instagram, I'm in a little bit of my own black hole, so I can like what you send, but I can't really share it. But either way, and then I'm at a lot of conventions, so I always prefer meeting people face to face. It's great to really have a moment to chat and get to know everyone.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Again, seriously, I can't emphasize it enough by how thank you so much for voicing our childhoods, for inspiring us at a time when Pokemon was getting bigger, and especially a time before the internet really took off.
Yeah, when everyone watched it together, and it reinforces that need for community that we all have. And what I've learned in traveling to conventions around the world is that we are all part of that community, even though we've never actually met. And Pokemon is a great way to get started with a new friendship and realize how much we all have in common. And then as you start chatting, you realize you have more and more in common. So it's a great unifier, and I'm just so honored to be part of this community that, it's brought I would say, a deeper meaning to my life for sure. And meeting people within this community has really intensified that. So thank you all. Just being able to sit here for a minute and chat with you and your community, I hope it goes on for a lot longer. We have a lot of work to do out there.
Yeah, we do. Yeah, we do.
Yeah. And we're all together.
Speaking of communities, you gave me a very nice segue there. If you'd like to join our community as well, there's plenty of communities around the UK. You can find your own community or community near you using www.nintendoplayers.uk. Alternatively, you can find us on Twitter at Nintendo Player UK. You can find us on Facebook at Nintendo Players UK and Instagram with the same name. And you can also find us on Twitch as well. So I hope we hope to see you soon on one of those platforms, and you can join our community and we could talk more about Veronica Taylor and her time as Ash.
Talk more and more. Oh my gosh.
Why not? Maybe one day, if we can, maybe you should all tweet at her. Tell her she needs to start a Twitch channel and, do a Let's Play of Let's Go Pikachu. Maybe.
I have a Twitch. Does that count?
It does count.
No. Okay, I'll look into that. That's on my to-do list also. How about that? And then I'll come over and you can show me how to do that.
Okay.
All right.
We'll try to get that.
I'll let you know as soon as I'm back in the UK. Hopefully next year at some point soon.
All right. Okay. Thank you once again, Veronica Taylor. Thank you everyone who has watched and listened. Once again, you can find us on all our socials. You can find Veronica on her socials. It'll be in the description. And in the meantime, I hope you guys have enjoyed this interview. I hope you have enjoyed this interview too, Veronica.
I have, definitely. Talk to you soon.
All right. Thank you, everyone. And I shall see you guys later. Happy gaming. Bye, everyone.
Bye.